Today in the deep dive, we're doing something pretty cool. Have you ever walked through a really modern city, say like Tokyo, and just wondered what's underneath? What layers of history are hidden just below the surface? Well, today we're focusing let's call it our historical lens on one specific district, Oimachi, right there in Tokyo's Shinagawa ward. And our mission really is to dig up Oimachi's most fascinating stories. We want to reveal those real, tangible bits of the past, the kind of hidden gems that you, our listener, can actually go out and find today. The sources we've looked at give this amazing perspective on how Oimachi has changed over time.
Yeah, it's quite a story, and it literally starts from the ground up. What's really interesting is Oimachi's name. It comes from well, apparently because there was loads of groundwater historically. So that itself hints at a really deep past, way before it became the busy place we see now. Understanding that background, it changes everything. A quick visit becomes this whole journey through time. You start to see how all these different events shaped its character, made it resilient. It's so much more than just a convenient place to change trains.
Right, a living history. So from that well, let's jump into our first layer. This one's pretty dramatic. Racehorses to warplanes.
That's a good place to start. We're talking the Taisho era, so the 1920s. That's when the Tokyo Race Club, technically was set up right in Oimachi. And it wasn't just any race course. It quickly became the center for horse racing in the whole Kanto region. Big deal.
Okay, horse racing hub. But then World War II. Things changed drastically, I imagine.
Drastically is the word. The whole place was requisitioned by the military. It became the Oi Naval Air Base. Can you picture it? The actual racetrack where horses gallop turned into a runway for warplanes.
Wow. And under the spectator stands, they built something there too.
They did. A whole network of underground tunnels, air raid shelters, command centers, all dug out beneath where people used to watch the races. It was intense, a real hive of wartime activity and obviously a place of shelter during raids. What's kind of amazing, though, is after the war ended, the race course just went back to being a race course pretty quickly, too. It's like that whole intense wartime chapter was sort of buried again, literally and figuratively. Shows incredible resilience, maybe.
Definitely resilience. But are there actual traces left? Anything you can point to today and say, this is from that time?
Oh, absolutely. A key spot is the JRA Horse Museum Annex. It's right there on the racecourse grounds.
Sure.
And while it's mostly about horse racing culture, which is fascinating in itself, they also have photos, documents, even artifacts they dug up from the old airbase, like old signs for the air raid shelters, bits of military gear.
So you can actually see evidence.
Yeah, you can look at these old black and white photos of, say, Zero fighters parked on what was the track, and it really hits you. That strange overlap of leisure and war. Right there.
Incredible. What about the tunnels themselves, those underground structures? Are they just lost history now, or can you get a peek?
Mostly lost to the public, unfortunately. They aren't generally open. But sometimes, very rarely, there might be special pre-booked tours, maybe during maintenance work, where you could potentially see bits of the thick concrete walls, the passages.
So not easy to access.
Not easy at all. But even on a normal race day, if you're observant, sometimes the way certain floors or structures are built, you might get a subtle hint that there's something substantial underneath, a kind of silent reminder.
Okay, from wartime intensity, let's rewind further, much further back. You mentioned earlier a sense of tea and straw sandals. Tell me about that era.
Right, we're jumping way back to the Edo period now.
Yeah.
Think samurai, merchants, travelers walking the famous Tatsui Road. Now, Oimachi wasn't an official shukuomachi, one of the designated post towns with formal inns.
Ah, okay. So not like the main stops.
Exactly. It was more of an aino-shuku, an aid post, or in-between post. Basically, a really crucial, unofficial resting spot between the big official posts of Shinagawa and Kawasaki. Travelers definitely needed places like this.
So people would just stop off here for a break.
Precisely. All sorts of people, travelers, merchants, even lower-ranking samurai on foot. They'd stop to rest, maybe grab a bite. And because of that, lots of little chaya, tea houses, and simple inns called hatago popped up, offering tea, basic meals, maybe new straw sandals.
Right, the essentials for the road.
Yeah. You have to imagine the atmosphere, probably dusty, maybe a bit sweaty, the smell of simple tea brewing. It was the common person's experience of the Tokaido, really essential for those long journeys.
Can we still feel that today? Are there, actual remnants of that old road?
You can. If you look around Oimachi Station's east exit, especially near the Oimachi police station or under the Tokaido Freight Line overpass, you might find clues.
Like what sort of clues?
Maybe some old cobblestones or Notice how some alleys are still really narrow and winding, following the old path.
Hmm.
Sometimes you even find old Jizo statues by the roadside. Standing there, you can almost picture the travelers centuries ago.
That's amazing, finding those little echoes. Is there anything more direct, like one of those old tea houses still around?
Well, our sources mention one called Kikuya. A story goes it might date back to the Meiji era, possibly even earlier. It's supposedly still operating, tucked away in an Oimachi alley.
Still serving tea.
Apparently so. Even if the building itself is modernized, the idea, that spirit of offering rest to travelers with a cup of tea, that seems to live on. Going there for some sencha, it's not just tea, it's like tasting a bit of that 100-year-old roadside hospitality. A living connection.
I love that. A taste of history. Okay, let's shift gears now. From tea houses to industry. Steel giants, you called them.
Yes, we're moving forward now into the late Meiji and early Showa periods. Think late 19th, early 20th century. Japan's industrializing rapidly, railways are expanding everywhere, and Oimachi becomes a really key railway center. The big development was the Oimachi Locomotive Depot, established in 1914, and the heart of it was this incredible structure, a roundhouse. In Japanese, an ikigata shako, meaning fan-shaped shed.
A roundhouse. I'm picturing a massive turntable.
Exactly. Huge turntables that would swing these giant steam locomotives around and point them into specific bays, stalls radiating outwards for maintenance and repairs.
Must have been quite a sight. And sound.
Oh, definitely. Imagine the noise, the constant hiss of steam, the loud whistles, and the smell. Coal smoke hanging heavy in the air. You'd see workers covered in soot moving around these huge machines. It was the home base for countless steam locomotives, a real symbol of Japan's industrial power back then.
A real powerhouse district. You mentioned in the sources, though, that surprisingly parts of it are still there, even after the age of steam ended. How would you spot that?
It's true, it's quite remarkable. Even though they switched to electric trains eventually, the core of the old roundhouse structure, it's still visible. The big circular pit where the turntable sat, and you can see parts of the foundations, maybe some walls of the radial sheds.
Where exactly would you look?
It's right near, or sort of adjacent to, the current Tokyo Oimachi tram depot. If you look, maybe from a nearby pedestrian bridge, you can make out that distinctive curved shape. The remains, often heavy red brick or concrete, they're like this historical birthmark on the landscape, showing where Oimachi's industrial heart used to beat loudest.
A birthmark, I like that. And the tram depot that's there now, does that connect to the history at all?
Well, the Tokyo Oimachi tram depot is very much active today, so you get this fantastic contrast. Modern trams gliding in and out right next to these silent, hulking ruins of the steam age. It's like time having a conversation right there.
Visual conversation.
Exactly. And sometimes they have open days, like a Toden Matsuri or a festival, where you might get limited access to the modern depot, which is another way to kind of feel that continuity of transport history in Oimachi.
Okay, next layer. We're heading back towards the coast, but this story is about something lost. A vanished beach.
Yeah, this one's quite different. Oimachi used to be right on the coast, and it had a natural sandy beach. It was called Oimachi Hama, just a normal, natural part of Tokyo Bay.
So what happened to it?
Two big things, really. First, the Great Kanto earthquake in 1923 created a huge need for rebuilding materials in space. Then, after World War II, Japan's economy boomed, and Tokyo needed more land, especially industrial land. So starting in the 1950s, the Showa 30s, there was massive land reclamation.
They just filled in the sea?
Pretty much. The whole sea area right in front of Oimachi was filled in, turned into land for factories, warehouses, big power plants like Tokyo Electric Power, Oimachi Thermal Power Plant, logistics centers, you name it.
And Oimachi Beach just disappeared.
Completely vanished from the maps. Became a memory, basically. It's a stark reminder of how dramatically Tokyo reshaped its own coastline for industry and growth.
It's kind of sad, losing a natural beach like that. Is there any way to connect with that memory today, since the beach itself is gone?
There is, in a way. You could visit Jaranjima Seaside Park. It's out on the reclaimed land on Jonjima Island. It feels like a sort of modern nod, maybe a compensation for the lost Oimachi Hama.
What's it like?
It's unique. It has a man-made beach, and from there, you get these amazing views of planes taking off and landing at Haneda Airport nearby. Quite a sight. They also have a shiramari, a kind of artificial tidal pool, trying to recreate a bit of that natural coastal environment. Standing there, knowing the original bay is maybe tens of meters below your feet. It's a strange feeling.
Definitely makes you think. Is there another way to get a sense of that reclaimed landscape?
Yeah, take a walk or cycle along the Shiokaze Canal. It runs between the original Oimachi area and Jodanjima.
What would you see there?
You see this mixed old-looking factories and warehouses next to newer buildings, modern apartments. It gives you a real feel for the scale of the reclaimed land. It's sort of industrial, spacious character. And the canal itself, the water reflecting the sky, it feels like the lifeline, the bloodline connecting this new land.
Okay, final layer. Let's focus on the people, the everyday life in Oimachi, especially during that post-war boom.
Right. So after the war, and especially during the high-growth decades, Oimachi was buzzing. Industry, transport, lots of jobs. This attracted a huge working population, and they needed somewhere to live.
Right.
So what sprang up were lots of these wooden nagaya row houses, usually 2 stories, built really densely, packed into the little alleys off the main streets, especially near the station.
Sounds crowded, but maybe close-knit communities.
Exactly that. Very close-knit. These were classic Shidomachi communities, traditional working-class neighborhoods with a strong local feel. Families lived literally side by side, often sharing facilities like hallways, maybe a well or toilets. Cramped, yes, but also very communal.
And you mentioned something vital for these workers, the sento, the public
Oh,
bathhouse.
absolutely essential. For these laborers, after a long, hard day, the sento was everything. It wasn't just about getting clean. It was warm, steamy, probably noisy with chatter. A place to soak tired muscles in hot water, catch up with neighbors, just unwind. A real sanctuary for body and mind, and central to the community's social life.
Where can you still find echoes of that Showa-era life? Can you still see those Nagaya buildings?
You can, but you have to look carefully. There are still some scattered remnants, especially if you explore the quieter residential alleys near Oimachi Station's west exit, maybe heading towards Kitami or around Risho University.
What should you look for?
Look for those wooden 2-story buildings. Even if they've been renovated, you can often still see the narrow layout, maybe faded wooden walls, sometimes shared entrances. They just have a certain feel, a different scale to modern housing. Walking those lanes, you can almost imagine the sounds of daily life back then.
And the sento experience, is that completely gone?
Not completely. There's an old-fashioned sento called Oyu. It dates back to the Showa era, one of the few traditional ones left in Oimachi.
What's it like inside?
Apparently, it's like stepping back in time. You push aside the U curtain, and you might see the classic Fujisan mural on the wall, terrazzo bathtubs, old retro lockers, steam everywhere. It's not just a bath. It's like visiting a living museum of Showa Shidomachi culture. You might even end up chatting with some local regulars. It's a real warm piece of living history.
That sounds like an amazing experience. Now, besides these main layers, you mentioned a couple of bonus gems, something about a slope.
Yeah, Zaimusaka. It's a prominent slope in Oimachi, but its story is pretty cool. Originally, it was apparently a really steep, tough path called Sengenzaka.
Okay.
Then, in the Meiji era, this British guy, J.M. James Zimusu, in Japanese pronunciation, hence the name, lived nearby. And he actually paid out of his own pocket to have the slope rebuilt, made gentler and easier to use.
Wow, just a local resident?
Yep. And they renamed the slope after him in gratitude. So Zaimusaka still connects the higher and lower parts of the area, but it's also this reminder of, individual contribution, a link between past and present. And it's still a busy street today.
That's a great story. What was the other bonus gem? Something about cats and poetry.
Right. The cat park, its official name is Oimachi Ryokuchi Jido-yun, and it's linked to Sakotaro Hagiwara. He's considered like the father of modern Japanese poetry.
And he lived in Oimachi.
He did, yeah. Moved there from the countryside around 1925. And he wrote this long poem, actually titled Oimachi, describing the town back then full of factories, smoky, maybe a bit poor, but he grew to love it deeply.
Finding beauty in the grit and the cats.
The park got its nickname because of these bronze statues in it, called Hanako and Taro. They were made by an artist named Shinji Nakamura, and he was inspired by Hagiwara's most famous poetry collection, Oneko, which means blue cat. So the park's nickname is this lovely little artistic nod to the poet who found his muse in Oimachi.
That adds such a unique layer. It's amazing how all these stories are just there if you know where to look. And connecting all this history to Oimachi today, it's still a really practical place to be, right? Transportation is key.
Oh, absolutely. That's a huge part of its modern appeal. You've got the JR Kin Tohoku line, the Tokyo Oimachi line, the Rinkai line.
Yeah.
You can get to major hubs like Tokyo Station, Shinjuku, Shibuya in like 20 minutes or less. Super convenient.
So it's got the history and the convenience.
Exactly. And it manages this great balance. You have the historical Shitamachi feel, that traditional neighborhood vibe, but also modern shops, big department stores. And then you have these amazing, deep, nostalgic Showa-era bar alleys, like the Higashikoji restaurant area. You know, the kind of place that pops up in TV dramas sometimes.
Right, that mix of old and new.
It really is. You can step between centuries just by walking down a different street.
And it's still changing, isn't it? I read about big redevelopment projects.
Yeah, Oimachi doesn't stand still. There's a major project happening just north of the station, the Rokuchi area development. They're building twin towers, offices, a hotel, apartments, even a cinema complex. Supposed to be ready around 2026.
So evolving again.
Exactly. It's constantly layering the new onto the old, but somehow, hopefully, without erasing its roots. It makes Oimachi feel both incredibly modern and deeply historical at the same time.
What an incredible journey we've taken. Through Oimachi's many layers. Wartime bases hiding under race courses, Edo-era tea stops, industrial roundhouses, vanished beaches, Showa communities.
It really shows that the hidden gems aren't always shiny things, are they? In Oimachi, they're more like time amber.
Yeah.
Little pieces of the past preserved in ordinary places, waiting for you to notice them. It takes a bit of curiosity, maybe some imagination.
Absolutely. So, we really hope that you, listening, might visit Oimachi with these stories in mind. Go with historical eyes, maybe. Slow down. Look for those hints of the underground tunnels near the racecourse. Try and feel the old Tokaido Road beneath your feet.
Yeah, gaze at those roundhouse ruins and picture the steam engines. Stand in Jonanjima Park and imagine the sea where you're standing. Or maybe best of all, soak in the warmth, literal and figurative, of an old sento like Oyu.
It really brings the place alive in a new way.
And maybe it makes you wonder, what about your own town or city? What seemingly ordinary streets or buildings around you might be holding their own incredible hidden histories, just waiting for someone like you to uncover them?